All right, everybody. We are going to graph sine and cosine on our calculator. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the y equals menu, which brings me here. And I'm going to use the function sine, which is this button right here. And then I put in my variable, x. Now, instead of just going right to the graph, I'm actually going to go to my zoom menu here. And you can see that there's a zoom trig, number 7. So I'm going to hit 7. And you can see your sine function. Okay, now what zoom trig does is it goes, if we look at the window here, we're going from negative 8.639 to 8.639. I feel like on the older calculators, this is negative 6.28 to 6.28. The reason for that is you can see also the scale here is 1.57 in the x direction. In the y direction is just normal. It's a scale of 1. But in the x direction, the scale is 1.57, which is actually pi over 2. So each tick mark here is pi over 2. So we can see that sine gets to its highest point at pi over 2. It goes back to 0 at pi, 3 pi over 2, 0 at 2 pi. And this makes sense based on the unit circle that we looked at last time. The biggest value I'm going to get is 1. The smallest value I'm going to get is negative 1. And this just keeps oscillating between those two. Now, if I go back to my y equals menu, and I type in cosine of x, something that I needed to point out that I forgot, make sure that you're in radian mode when you're graphing these. So we want to be in radian mode. So I am in radian mode. It's right here. You can change that option. I'm going to go back to the graph. And you can see the red graph here is cosine, which makes sense because when the angle is 0, the value is 1. So the x-axis here is the angle on the unit circle that we're talking about. So this is pi over 2, and pi over 2 is 90 degrees on that unit circle. So we're at 0. We're on the y-axis in the unit circle here. So that's why cosine is equal to 0. And then at pi, we're equal to negative 1. So let's not forget that sine represents the y-coordinate on a unit circle, given the angle, and cosine represents the x-coordinate on that circle, given the same angle. So you can see why these are offset by a little bit. And then right here, where they're the same, this is pi over 4, and this is 3 pi over 4. Okay? Sorry, not 3 pi over 4, this is 5 pi over 4. So I'm going to pick back up over on the iPad, going through the notes, but I wanted to show you how you would do this on your calculator. We can still use the same features to find minimum, maximum, intersect, zeros, all that stuff is in the second trace menu. All right, let me know if you have any questions about using the calculator.